How long was I in there for? Because
Well, if I recall correctly, you said something along the lines of, fuck it, I'm just going to go sit down and start smoking. You never really gave me a length of time. You just said, fuck it. So I'm going to assume, unless you say otherwise, that you're basically there until they carry you out. Same as most people.
He'll probably try and fucking... He'll just have a couple and then he'll go try and get some money, I guess.
Okay. Give me 3 health checks. This is for every puff you
there's
take.
one. There's a 10.
So.
And a 9, so that's like 19.
So that's 19 for the first one?
19 plus... Health, you said?
Health, yes.
19 plus that is 28 for the first one.
Success.
Second one, 12, 17.
Yep. It's a pass. Last one is the highest.
And that one's 13.
Great. 2 successes and 1 fail. All right. After your brief chat with Gerard, you kind of sit yourself down in one of the free sort of multi-piped smoke machines next to 2 other men, both of which appear to be either in some sort of haze or completely out of it. You kind of...
Oh yeah, I definitely just want to mug fucking drug people, not like alert people, obviously.
Okay, yeah. Roll me a pickpocket for these 2 guys. 1 roll per. Roll with a +5 bonus.
Oh damn, brother! It's all coming around. Fucking 10 players.
Debo pickpocket master flex doesn't realize he's gonna get pickpocketed when he passes out.
All right, Debo, you rolled so well that I will re-roll your prior fortune check for this scene, and I will exempt you from the worst possible result because you rolled so well.
Bro, I rolled like...
Well, your check remains the same as before, but you do not get a worse check. So I will say that you managed to pocket about 10 silver from this one guy and roll for the next... Actually, I'll let you carry that result over to both people because it was such a crazy good result.
I rolled like 36. Holy.
So you pickpocket the pants off of one guy, not literally, but you could probably get away with it if you wanted to. Yeah, you pickpocket 10 silver from one and you get 25 from the other. So one of these guys was packing. Yep. Additionally... additionally, you managed to find a steel dagger on one of them. Which, is in decent shape, average quality, could be worth something to someone. Other than that, they don't tend to carry too much that would interest you. It's out of the clothes on their back, unless you really want new clothes.
I'll pluck the dagger if I can, just because I don't have a fucking weapon.
Yeah, so apparently one of these guys managed to sneak this in here.
Yep, I'll take it and try and tuck it away somewhere hidden, like in his belt or whatever.
As you were patting him down, you also find 3 lockpicks.
Yeah, we taken those.
And you also find a pouch of miscellaneous, herb. Some kind. When you
we leave him that. We leave him that. Took all his money. He can have that for
All right. Give me an investigation check, since you have all the time in the world, as you kind of rifle around through the belongings of these unconscious fellows. The room is still fairly foggy, so it makes it difficult to make out exactly what's going on past a couple feet or so. So you're pretty fortunate here.
16.
16. You notice that as you're kind of rifling through this guy's belongings, you do happen to see a rather unusual kind of tattoo on his left shoulder of some sort of appears to be some sort of black bird of some kind with like a serpent of some kind sort of entwined around its skull, coming out the socket of the animal's skull. This is on the fellow who you took the dagger and the lockpicks off of.
Is it familiar to those tattoos back in Lakeshore? Is it the same guy?
Any criminal savvy?
No, I do not.
Then you have no idea, and you can't even roll on this because this is a specialty check.
Okay, well,
There is
I'll
no
do my
criminal savvy.
best to try and remember what it looks like. And...
Sure. I would write it down because in the future you'll have to make a recall check. Which, I mean, your recall is pretty good, but you don't want that to be left to RNG. I'd recommend writing a lot of stuff down.
So what? It's like a skull with like a fucking.
Yeah, it's a bird skull of some sort with a snake kind of intertwined around it, with the head of the snake poking out through the eyeball, as though it had eaten the animal from within. It's not super detailed, but it's detailed enough that you could make out at least that detail, or at least that kind of significant part of the artistry.
I got it.
The
Yeah,
other
he'll
the
just
other
notice it.
fellow that you robbed also had a similar tattoo, although he was not armed. And he had a kind of a rusty, kind of somewhat bent key that, well, when you kind of get it a bit closer, kind of has the reek of salt about it. Do you take that?
Yeah, sure. I'll take the key. It's a key. Rusty bent. Key.
Yeah, it's just kind of a rusty bent key that kind of smells faintly of salt, which is impressive because it's difficult to smell in here. So it must have a bit of a stronger kind of odor outside of this place.
Yeah. I mean, does it have any other sort of markings or
Nothing
just
too.
a fucking bent key that smells?
Yeah, it's just a somewhat bent key with a bit of rust on it, with a bit of an odor. It doesn't have any like markings or chicken scratch or anything significant on it. I'm also gonna say that you've been in here for at least 5-10 minutes. By that time, kind of the humors are starting to get to your head, and you've kind of basically just been baking in drug stink. You passed you passed your checks, but you failed one of them, so you're starting to feel a little bit groggy, and you haven't slept yet, so you're still exhausted on top of it. So just bear in mind that this gets worse with time, so you'll be suffering a -3 to your intelligence and social checks until you sleep.
Yeah, he's gonna take the key that he saw and then just fucking leave.
Yep. I will also add that you're basically the equivalent of tipsy at the moment, so not too bad, but you're starting to have to really pay attention to how you walk.
Oh yeah, no, he just wants to get the fuck out of there and go up to his room.
Yeah, you basically TLDR, you're breathing in heroin now, like chill.
Yeah.
So yeah, try not to stick around for too long.
He like,
Okay, yeah.
No, that'd be too conspicuous, I guess. Like lift his fucking.
Yep. So you basically get up and you're kind of you're stable enough that you don't need to use anything as a for balance, but you might take a bit of extra time to step over people that are like maybe on the ground, or to like avoid somebody walking directly at you. Like your mobility is being affected by it, but not so severely that you can't like stand upright without assistance.
Yeah, parkour over the unconscious people.
It becomes much more difficult when you're in this state. You're not too bad, but you know, acrobatics, while tipsy acrobatics is risky. But that being said, you don't like have a pile of bodies blocking you. It's just if you happen to run into that situation, you have to kind of slow down a bit.
Yeah, no, he's just cruising.
Yep, that makes sense to me. Where are you going exactly?
She said there was a room, right? Like she was gonna get the
Yep. She also said that they're not an inn, so they would strongly encourage you to take any girl of your choice.
Oh yeah, he said like one of the ones out of the window, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll get him. They're prepared." So yeah,
You guys came in together, right?
yes sir.
Okay. She asks you if the man you came in with is a comrade of yours.
He is, yes.
She says that for him, he owes the establishment 5 silver, assuming he just wishes to bathe. That'll be another 10 if he wishes to spend the night with the woman of his choice in his room. For you, it's just 10 since you already paid the fee for the smoke pit. So you're looking at a total of about 25 silver between the two of you. This isn't like a low-class place, but it's also not the most expensive. This starts to add up over time.
All right, yeah. He just tosses her the coins. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So you give her the money for you and Randall, or just for yourself?
Oh no, for both of us.
Okay, sure. Cross off 25 silver, and that covers if Randall wants to go to sleep with his.
That was
lady
the
as
rest
well.
of Randall's share. That fuck.
All right. You pay off the matron, and she thanks you, and says she hopes you enjoy yourself and enjoy Cecilia as well, which is the woman that you picked.
Yep. He thanks her and goes off to get some fuck on.
All right. That's for you, Debo. Spoon. You're currently in the. You're currently in a rather pleasant situation. Randall has thoroughly instructed the young lady bathing him to avoid his more problem areas, as they are still somewhat sore, and he'll do those himself, but she's more than welcome to accost any other area of his being with a gentle hand. Does that sound about right? Okay. Yeah, so she will begin washing you, and as she does so, is there anything you wish to do or any plans you want to consider, anything that needs to be kind of thought over, prepped ahead of time? Or do you wish to take any actions? What do you want to do right now? To set the scene, you're in kind of a hot bath. Water was drawn. There's some basic soap. Nothing that nobility would brag about, but enough to kind of actually scrub the dirt from you. And there's a couple brushes nearby, and you can see in one of the bathing kind of stalls that one of the servant girls, of which there seem to be 2, are bringing in refreshments and things like that for that particular patron. This is an option also available to you. There aren't really curtains or anything for privacy. This is literally just almost like a mass cattle ranch for fucking horny, tired dudes. They slap you in a bathtub and bring you the best that they can. The fellow off to your right, which is the only other tub that's currently non-vacant, is kind of based on what you've chosen to see. He's older, kind of balding, gray-haired, long, kind of distinguished beard, horribly disfigured or maimed somehow. Although you're not entirely sure how. It's almost like he had a hot cast iron pan kind of pressed to his face for at least a good 10 seconds. He's in very bad shape. His arms are kind of thick and burly, fairly muscular, but he's definitely older, probably approaching his 50s and likely seen his best years. He's laughing and kind of boisterous, and he kind of claps one of the ladies on the behind rather roughly. She kind of gives a rather feminine ooh, and then almost slips into the tub with the wine that's on the tray. He doesn't pay much attention to you, obviously, and he seems distracted by his current predicament, but that just lets you know that there is another fellow in here that you could civilly converse with.
All right.
It's like a bathhouse, but not gay.
Yeah.
Mad.
Still pretty gay though.
Yeah. Nah, man, the women are the shield. Stay mad, pussy nigger.
It's not gay, it's just two dudes hanging out.
It's fucking gay, bro. Gets cleaned by women with like girls. Faggot.
I'll bet you can faggot.
Right? Yeah, what do you wish to do, Spoon? You're basically kind of alone with your thoughts at the moment. If you want, you can skip to morning and we will play out your scene first.
Yeah, skip the morning seems appropriate. Fucking Randall's never been manhandled by a fucking ogre before, which, now to think about it, is becoming somewhat of a theme with my characters. Especially the casters.
not my fault you have bad luck.
Right?
All right. Okay. Yeah, you after a long and active night with the woman of your choice, you find yourself rising with sort of a nice renewed sense of comfort and vigor. Whatever stress that had been plaguing your body prior seems to, at the very least, been kind of washed out through your night of decadence. And just the nice feeling of being clean and properly scrubbed is something that you haven't felt in some time, and yet have the privilege of doing so now. Sort of, it almost washes away the other worries of your mind, although entirely. The girl that had been with you has long since departed your company, and you are left in a proper bed, cotton sheets with a goose-stuffed mattress, and kind of just a regular pillow, also cotton, to cushion your head. The room, while a little bit drafty, is acceptable compared to what you're used to sleeping in. And there is a dresser nearby, there's a dresser nearby, a couple shuttered windows, and a desk for writing or just simply keeping your things overnight. There's also an armor stand and a couple other things in the room that are just sort of meant to store your belongings. Yeah. A couple candlesticks here and there. Hold on. I'm not done with Spoon a lot, unless this is like an emergency action.
Wait, you're describing Spoon shit still?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I went AFK for a minute.
All right. What do you wish to do, waking up, refreshed, renewed?
Me or Debo?
You. That whole description was for you, my son.
All right, just checking.
We ended the last session more with Debo's side of the story than yours, so you get to start today.
Fair enough. I'll probably get up for the morning, greet the mistress, assuming she's up, or whoever's manning what could be considered, I guess, the main foyer or podium, whatever the fuck.
Yep, the madam is in the main foyer, as she usually is, greeting customers, pointing them to the varying locations, and occasionally kind of dipping out to go and find some women that will suit her current needs, of which every so often men of varying classes seem to waltz on in, each of them being directed to separate areas, almost intentionally. What do you wish to do? If you wish for a better description, just let me know of what's going on in the area.
Alright, so she's currently, looking around for people to accommodate customers?
Yeah, and she also has a couple of her girls that are helping her as well, but she generally tends to keep that activity to herself. She greets patrons as they come down from upstairs and takes their payment, of which they know what is expected of them. She greets you as well as you come downstairs, but doesn't seem to ask you for payment.
Okay, that seems kind of peculiar. Hello, madam. Don't I owe you payment?
The madam kind of gives you a soft nod and then remarks that your companion that came in with you last night has paid that for you.
Is that so? Generous of him.
Yeah, she says it was rather generous. It was no small sum, but she hopes you enjoyed your stay and asks you how the girl performed.
Well, it looks like I can pick 'em. She tells a very fine story.
Yep. The madam nods and tells you that many of the women here could tell you many stories, as you can imagine from their line of work, but that's not where their real talent lies, obviously.
I had gathered.
Yep.
Could I inquire as to a preferred local tavern so that I don't have to come here inquiring after a room every evening? The only tavern I tried was stuffed to the gills.
Now, she tells you that the Crested Cock is a more affordable and yet bit more of a reputable inn that always seems to have at least a room or two. It's a bit more on the expensive side, but they treat their patrons well, and they also have an innkeeper that is a fairly upright and honest gentleman who conducts fair business, and she vouches for him personally, saying that they have done business together for years in many ways, and he's definitely one of the more trustworthy establishments on this side of the village of Wilheim.
My character gives a nod. Thank you. Could you also direct me to the direction of a local tailor? I have a couple holes in my clothing, and, well, I can't imagine I'm not going to get much decent work looking, well, armed and armored as it is.
The matron furrows her brow somewhat and gives a few seconds for thought before she says that the tailor is just a block away from the temple, which is close to the local archive. She tells you that if you go north on the road, on the cobbled road from the Red Shawl, and continue on, you take your first left, and you are essentially at the tailor. Further north, you start to come across some of the other landmarks. The small, kind of not really a temple so much as a shrine to Lyriel, and beside that, the local archives. Those are some areas of note. Do you ask her for any more information on any other area?
My character inquires, the local archive?
She kind of looks at you a bit funny and then kind of nods as if she remembers something. Oh, yes. She remarks that obviously you're not from here and that she had forgotten. The local archive is basically a place where anybody who's so inclined can pay a fee of 2 silver and then go in and she kind of scoffs at this. Read. And then she shrugs, but not many people can read. So the place is almost exclusively populated by particularly scholarly types and the relatives and close family of the local nobility, although there is no strict rule against anybody who can pay using the place.
I see. Thank you for your time. I'll be sure to drop by again if my travels take me somewhere in need of better accoutrements.
He nods. Thanks you for your call it. Fuck, I'm brain farting so hard right now.
Service.
No, she thanks you for visiting her establishment and hopes you'll return. You're always welcome here, for so long as your coin is true. And she asks you, do you wish for me to send a message to your friend and let him know where you've gone when he comes down?
Certainly. Tell him I'll be at the tailor of the archive.
Okay. She says if she sees him, she will relay the message.
Thank you.
All right. Spoon. We're going to get to Debo here real quick. We're going to assume that you're on your way to either the tailor or the archive. Which one do you want to go to first?
Tailor.
Okay, tailor first. Debo. You wake up in a fairly similar environment to Spoon's, the only difference being that your bed seems to be a little bit less cramped and can afford a bit more space for the woman that you have chosen to take with you. She's shorter, a bit pudgy, and cute in a certain light. However, she is very enthusiastic, has a lovely smile, and almost like captivating green eyes with surprisingly well-kept hair. She's also fairly gifted in the bosom area, and was no doubt a raucous good time for Atticus.
Oh, my man got himself a fucking big titty GF. Hell yeah, brother. Oh, yeah, so he'd have asked her about the bird skull.
Oh, this, when?
I don't know, sometime between last night and right now, like, probably, like, when they met, like, just
Okay.
break the ice, like, yo, you've seen this? You know what this is?
You kind of give her a description, and she sort of, He falls a bit quiet, but then eventually says, "It's the marking of a kind of local band of sort of small-time ruffians that kind of operate in." She says that they frequent this place and are generally fairly good-paying customers, but some of them can be difficult. And she also says that she's thankful that the local lord, even though he hasn't done anything to really fix their presence in Willenheim, has at least provided them with some level of security while they ply their trade in the form of the guardsmen, which are on the outside and inside of the inn to kind of keep peace. She says that without them, things would definitely be a lot different.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's all. That's all he wants to know. Like, just if they have a leader, I guess.
He shrugs and doesn't really know if any of them come to mind particularly. She says they all look kind of scary in the wrong light, so she's not really able to help you there.
All right. Yeah. You thank her anyway and go back to clapping the cheeks. Let's fucking go, bro.
Right. And safe to say that she shows you a very good time, and much like Randall, you also kind of feel sudden relief. And while it's been getting increasingly difficult to feel much of anything lately, at the very least, one of the most important sensations to a man in the martyr setting, the feeling of his wee-wee, is still with you.
Ah, God bless.
So you're grateful that at least at the moment, that's right, Spoon, but I would actually choose something a little bit more appropriate here. Let me find it, because I'm a man of culture. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. So you and
this thing I get a bitch and make it
you and Atticus were literally that's what's playing in the background because you're degenerates and because I'm a fucking man of culture.
Let's fucking go. Let's go.
That shit slaps though.
Bro, Atticus all about that shit.
All right.
When we get back to Constantia, he's gonna have a fucking American Psycho apartment. He's just gonna put that on. Be like, Randall, have you ever heard of Grateful Head from James Woodstock Adventure? Check it.
Do you like Hammer Lewis and the Clubbers? Also a canon gang in my universe as of right now. Mad.
Yeah. Good.
Who you just fucked with. He's got a big hammer. No, I'm just kidding.
I hope so. That'd be cool.
Hammer Lewis Puggies? Yeah. All right. Needless to say, you wake up more relieved than you probably have in some time, and guess what? Although it's slight, you do at least recognize some of the sensation that comes with a fresh scrub. A nice clean. Just fresh out of the shower, if showers existed, except with a bath. This is probably the most this is the most joy and the most relaxed you've felt since forever. Proper sleep, some decent amenities, a little bit of liquor here and there, and some food, but generally speaking, the best part was in the tender love and care that makes life worth living.
True.
What do you wish to do? You are currently laying in your bed next to this woman who had gone at it viciously and heretically all night. Just to say you're both fucking degenerates. She's still sleeping.
Yeah, Atticus sees no reason to fucking bug her.
Alright.
She's sleeping. He's just gonna get the fuck up and get his shit and leave.
Yep. You kind of pick up all your equipment and kind of check everything over.
Oh yeah, make sure nothing's gone. Keep his fucking book. Hide the dagger. Yep. He'll leave fucking 5 silver on the table too. He doesn't give a shit.
Sure, leave an extra 5 silver as a tip. Very kind.
Yep, and fucking adjust his shit and head out. Head down. Armor and all that.
On your way down the stairs, you see two men that are fairly familiar to you from the back smoke pit, speaking to the madam. They're, while not overly kind of obvious, she seems to have shrunken back somewhat and has kept her voice low. Debo, give me an empathy check.
Yep.
You know what your total is.
Empathy's charisma?
Yep.
10.
Yeah, she fidgets lightly, kind of at her sides, and her eyes are a bit wide, and you can tell that she's speaking a bit fast and hurried. The two men kind of loom over her in a bit of a menacing fashion, and although there are some guardsmen sort of going about their duty on the inside of the building, approximately 2 that you can see right now, not including the one who's sort of kind of lackadaisically just sitting at the door and just looking out for paying customers, you could tell that she's frightened or intimidated as these two men speak with her. It doesn't take much longer, but eventually these two men kind of turn and they leave the establishment. The madam kind of letting out a sigh of relief, her chest heaving somewhat as she kind of falls back on the table that leads to the bar, and she kind of takes a moment or two.
Yeah, Atticus notices all that shit, notices those guys, walks on down, walks up to the madam and goes, fuck, I don't even know. He'd probably be looking for Randall. It's like, hey, have you seen my companion go through here?
Upon hearing your voice, the madam takes one final deep breath and sort of snaps out of her kind of brief stupor. She tells you that your companion kind of requested that she let you know where he was headed. She said that your companion told her that he would either be at the tailor or at the local archives.
I see. Where is it the archives, or where are the archives, rather?
Yeah, she tells you that the tailor is north of the Red Shawl, and you hang your first left. Though that is the tailor. Further, continuing on the north path, past the tailor is the archives, which is next to the kind of small shrine of Lyriel. Those are the two. Those are 3 landmarks. If you wish for more, you just need to ask.
Yeah, he'd ask about the Lord's mansion. He'd probably be like, do you know where the local Lord's mansion is? I've heard that he is found himself in a spot of trouble.
Yeah, she tells you that the Lord's Manor is not directly in Willenheim, although it's a little bit further out. He has kind of some manorial lands that his mansion kind of overlooks, and several of the locals that visit not just this place but also the other inns work for him in the fields, and that is where he would be located. It's directly east of Willenheim, and there's kind of a small dirt path off the main road that'll take you directly there. In fact, it's the only one that deviates from the trade route to Uldrick.
Okay, yeah, he thanks her, and before he goes, he looks back out the door and then back to her and says, what was that, man? Spot of trouble?
She tells you that everything is fine. It was just a misunderstanding between her and 2 of the patrons that question the integrity of her establishment. They claim, several of them this morning have claimed that they were unceremoniously scammed or robbed. And she's assured them that nobody that she has let in recently or that works for the establishment would ever do something like that. And she tells you that thankfully the presence of the guards were able to deter any unfortunate action on their part.
Okay, yeah, he just makes sure everything is fucking cool and thanks her again and fucking dips.
She thanks you for your business and says she hopes you'll return. and that if you ever wish to see the same girl again, she will likely be more than happy to see you, as they are with all their customers.
Oh, of course. And yep.
All right. That is the only break you're going to get for the next 10 arcs. Mad.
Yeah, I figured.
All right. You're heading on your way to meet up with Spoon. Spoon, you reach the tailor's abode, as it were, hanging the first left on the northern road. And at the moment, he doesn't seem particularly crowded or busy. There's no lineups on the outside or anything. It's a fairly modest establishment with a big, clear sign, the classic thread and scissors kind of over it. It is called Trax Golden Fleece. Based on a... actually, Spoon, do you have any... Do you have any unusual knowledge? No. I will accept either ancient knowledge or unusual knowledge, monster knowledge.
Nope.
Never mind. Unique name.
Fuck.
Yeah. You enter the tailor's establishment to the ringing of a small copper bell just above the door, and you see what appears to be kind of an older man, probably in his 50s, with kind of squinted eyes, a rather large nose, several bulbous kind of growths on his face, which is rather off-putting. And he seems to be rather well kept, though. Long red kind of a dress vest with a white undershirt, the sleeves rolled up, and some dark pants, and rather polished kind of leather shoes. He's in good shape. He obviously makes a fairly good living here. He also seems to have some sort of what appears to be a golden kind of chain that leads into his pocket for some reason.
Curious.
He greets you. He greets you cordially, and welcomes you to the tailor shop. Ah, new customer. Welcome, my friend. How can I serve you today? What services do you require? Are we making or repairing?
Potentially both.
I see. What is the project?
Well, I believe first things first. Could you get me any suitable replacements to this, heavens only knows, Ogun-stained thing upon my head?
The tailor sort of quirks a brow the way you speak. Very well, let me see. He takes your clothing, and although it's tarnished, a bit dirty, and smells horrible, he doesn't seem to really crack a look or emote at all that this is in any way offensive. He feels the fabric in spite of its kind of filth, apparently not shying away from a bit of dirty work. And he looks at you as he kind of scans over your clothing that you hand over. Imperial?
Indeed.
You wouldn't happen to be Flaccus, would you?
I beg your pardon?
Flaccus. The Imperial town over the Sustain River Bridge?
I don't believe so.
Spoon, what area did you pick for your character to be from?
Fuck, I was near the scar, I can't remember. Macedon?
Oh, Macedon. Okay, that's way, way further in. Do you tell him, or do you just say, nope, not from there? What would you like to do?
I just give a no, much further deeper in from Macedon.
I see. You've come a long way.
Indeed.
Far be it for little old me to assume that you've come all this way for my wares. Surely not. Not this humble shop.
You come highly recommended from the brothel.
I see. Well, I'm more than welcome, or more than happy to assist you. What sort of clothing would you like? We have many shapes and styles. If you're a more portly fellow, we may have to dig a little bit further back in our wares, although a lot of our nobles seem to prefer that sort of clothing. We have something for the hard weather. We have something should you choose to travel further up north. Gods know anyone there, but there are those who are such frigid as I suppose. He coughs a bit. We have some new shoes. Not many of those, of course, as I must work closely with the cobbler, and, well, he can be a crotchety sort. Well, what do you wish for? Something for the road? Something for a ball or fancy event of sorts?
Nothing so opulent. Something that could be attributed to being comfortable on the road. Potentially some padding for these furs. You'll understand these unfortunately aren't exactly tailor-made from where I found them.
I do. Yeah. Very well. Come over here, please. He kind of calls for you to step near a nearby mirror of actual glass. And he tells you to just stay there. And he kind of... He breaks out some sort of strange, kind of almost rope-like contraption with several notches on it. And he holds it kind of from your feet up. And he just kind of looks he just kind of looks at it for a few seconds and then over toward the mirror. He fits his thumb at one of the numbers and then goes up. Standard size. Make. Right. How much are you willing to spend, good sir? I understand that not everybody is fortunate enough to simply take me at my tastes, which unfortunately can be somewhat extravagant. Are you dressing more for function?
Yes, I would be going rather more for function, though I would say that my price range is 25 to 30 silver.
Gives you a bit of a thoughtful nod. Well, unfortunately, I do not believe I have your specific size at the shoulder in. But within the day I could have something made. You are not planning to leave anytime soon, are you?
I would hope not. One of my compatriots is recently finishing up some business of his. I assume we'll go at some point, but not within the week, unless he's in a particular hurry.
Very well. Return on the morrow, and I'll have something to fit the shoulder. As for your bottoms, we have everything else that you could possibly desire.
Return on the morrow, Randall Morrow.
Fuck yourself. Yeah, he basically says he'll make you your shirt, and it will take him the rest of the day. And if you return tomorrow, yeah, he'll give it to you. And he says that everything brand new in good condition. He quotes you about 10 silver. Nothing particularly fancy, nothing that really stands out, but it's was recently handmade, is completely new, and is meant to kind of endure the elements, at least to some degree. So you'll cross that off when you actually pay for the whole thing tomorrow.
Sure. Does that include like the padding for the furs?
Yep, that includes everything. He's basically giving you kind of a pseudo winter gear. You won't be wearing all of it all the time, but
Understandable.
What parts of it that you can wear during the winter are just fairly easy to slap on, like the overcoat and the shoes. There's nothing that stops you from wearing your current shoes, but the shoes that would go with the outfit are decidedly for wintertime.
Right.
Unless if you don't mind sweaty feet, that's fine. But I mean, that's kind of what you asked for, was something sturdy. And typically the same stuff they make the winter clothes out of, they also make sturdy clothes out of. So it tends to be the situation. Does that kind of, is that what you would like to pay for?
Sure.
All right, yeah. He then kind of rings in the order and then says, You have 10 silver on you, sir?
I do.
Well, that's what it will cost you. We'll have it ready for you on the morrow. Understand, I do not know you well enough to simply...
Take me at my word.
Yes, so I would very much appreciate if you could pay now before I start.
Certainly, if you can point me away from the direction of anyone who does butcher work over here and does not particularly care for my kind.
He, looks at you a bit strangely. Do you not have the silver, good sir?
I have the silver, just a little tit for tat. I typically don't have my clothes custom made.
I see. And you are looking for a butcher?
I am a butcher by trade, but a little heads up if one of the locals would be disinclined to accept work from Imperial, that would be appreciated.
Yes, Joseph recently lost his apprentice to a horrible accident in the shop. Most of his fingers were chopped off, and the boy hasn't come back to work since. Likely scared out of his mind. Well, you could go and ask him. He is not too far from my shop, in fact. Continue down this road and past the smaller market square, and you shall find him. Well, if he's in, he tends to frequent the brothel and the tavern quite a bit, even when he should be working. But there is a chance that you encounter him. There are also several other butchers, although they tend to have apprentices already at the moment, as far as I'm aware. As for your payment, sir, I do require that up front until I'm more comfortable with you.
Of course. Here you
Do you pay him at all, Spoon? Because he won't start till you pay him.
Right, 10 silver.
Cool. Yep. Yeah, you slap the 10 silver down on the counter, and he gives you a smile and a polite nod and says, very well. I will have your outfit prepared on the morrow. Until then, I'm going to need time to work. I will be closing up the shop until then.
Very well.
All right. Yeah. What do you wish to do now, Spoon?
All right. I guess I'll, if Atticus isn't just like waiting for me outside of the tailor, I'll go to the archives and inquire if there's any guards. I assume there is. The place has valuable stuff, even if nobody uses it.
You will encounter each other essentially as you're leaving. Atticus is walking up on the tailor.
I'm going to the archives, brother.
Okay, so the first place you're going is the archives?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
then...
I didn't want to go to the tailor. I don't give a fuck.
Well, the TLDR there is, as you're basically passing the tailor, which is basically on the corner, your first left, you're like, the odds that you miss Atticus are pretty low, but it is pretty crowded. So, I don't know, give me a census check, both of you. If one of you succeeds, then one of you sees the other. You can go meet up. If not, then you'll likely meet up at the archive.
18.
Yep. What do you get, Debo?
Not that.
Do you have a 10 at least?
Yes, 13.
Yeah, cool. So you both see each other. This Randall exits the tailor. Kind of just see him as he rounds the corner, heading north. And Randall also sees Atticus, so you guys can meet up. And you do so. You guys are basically kind of every so often making moves to sort of duck and dodge your way through the crowd, and occasionally you sort of have to push through people as they kind of form haphazard, rough approximations of lines at the market stalls and argue over who's first and who's in place here. People kind of try to outbid each other on certain goods, and the occasional scrap or fist fight breaks out that is hastily broken up by the guards. It's a relatively typical market scene. That said, do you guys wish to say anything or roleplay on your way to the archive? Any questions for each other?
Yeah, sure. I'll RP on the way there.
You fucking degenerate.
Atticus will say, we'll actually hand him the key.
What is this?
Okay. Atticus presents you with a rusty kind of bent key that smells strongly of salt.
That is a key to... He shrugs. But it was on a pair of ruffians, so I assume it leads back to their hideout where they must have something of value.
I'm confused. Do you mean to tell me you robbed a couple of hooligans who were drunk in a ditch somewhere?
I did not rob them. I was merely upholding the Imperium. He goes on a tirade about the rules and etiquette of being able to go UEDF, get on the motherfucking ground, I take whatever I want. Oh.
And here,
Alright, so how this actually goes? Did you just rob people in this town we just got in the smoke den? No! Fuck!
Yeah,
I can't
pretty
help
much.
It was the devil! The devil, man!
No, I was just you know, it's the... Hang on, I gotta scroll through the laws real quick. Hold up.
What laws? For Acretia? Yeah, scroll all the way.
No. I'm going off the Imperium laws. Fuck Acretia. Their laws don't matter to me. They don't apply to me. Fuck that.
Looks over at Spoon. This is rough. Follow the laws of the United States and the United States. Pretty stupid. I'm following African law, brother.
Exactly, dude.
I pick and choose what laws I like.
Exactly. You get it. You get it.
Fucking neck your slough, kid. Fucking
Fuck
you. I'm getting coffee. Think about what you've done. Roleplay when I get back.
I don't need to think about what I've done. I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Why?
Because that's how we got a nice night, Spoon. And you know how it was? It's because I robbed some people.
Okay, but you could not do that.
Yeah, I could. And then we'd be broke and sad and suffering 24/7.
Said something. Atticus, did you rob people? Atticus, something, the Imperium's laws, Keck W, fuck Acretia. Anyway, continue.
Atticus would go, well, you know, by all logic, those men were ruffians and they were threatening the madam. So, you know, they probably deserved it.
Wait.
Just like they'll deserve us taking whatever they took.
Wait, Randall thinks about it for a second. You robbed men who were accosting the brothel matron?
Yeah, I'm very good. Anyway.
How very heroic of you.
No, he is good. No, fuck you, he's good. That's not a lie. He rolled a 36 pickpocket, brother. I can roll a lie, but...
Devo.
There we go, I am fucking amazing.
Roll bluff, you're lying, but not about what you think you're lying about. You worded it poorly.
No, I worded it exactly how I meant to word it. Fuck you.
Fair enough. Roll bluff then. Spoon, empathy if you should so wish, unless you think you have no reason to suspect what he's saying.
Let's see.
I looked at his skill
13.
13, what'd you get, Spoon?
16.
Occasionally, whenever you speak to Atticus, sometimes if you're particularly careful, you notice that, his eyes might very briefly kind of dart off in one direction as he kind of scratches his head or presents something to you. Something's just off about what he's telling you. It's just you got a bad feeling. And while it doesn't seem, at least based on what you can tell, that he's outright lying to you, I mean, maybe he's withholding details or something. Or maybe you're just being paranoid. It's been a long journey. What you do know is that you're suspicious, at the very least.
Look, Atticus.
Look, mate!
I don't know why you're going around...
Randall, listen here, okay? We're gonna need money for the long road ahead, pal. And he puts his hand on his shoulder and fucking continues walking down the path. So, here's what I'm thinking. We're gonna go to the Lord's Manor after we go to the archives.
Unhand me, you fiend!
And we're gonna find a new job. We're gonna read some books, I guess. But, most importantly, We're gonna find what this key goes to, Randall.
Why?
Because, Randall, I have a good feeling about it. It smells like salt.
About what was fucking with Spoon's about to smell like in about 10 minutes.
No, I'm gonna try to persuade Randall.
Sure. You're more than welcome to roll persuade, and as long as your argument isn't too ridiculous and you beat Spoon, maybe you'll make his character sort of see reason. You guys have been pretty unlucky so far.
There's my 14 Persuado roll.
Persuado of 14, Spoon. Do you wish to counter-argue him, which would be a persuade check against him, or do you wish to manly willpower alpha pex fuck you no, which is a willpower check?
Fucking counter persuade.
Very well, Spoon a lot. Give me a counter persuado check. You need to beat, I think it was. Well, start arguing, guys, but know that Spoon will likely have the better of the results. And by likely, I mean he wins.
Atticus, let me understand this. You just told me that you took money from somebody and you pushed this into my hand and said that this gives us more money. This is not more money. This is a grudge. You're literally passing me a grudge that someone has against you.
Well, we could throw it away. I was just thinking, we could use it to acquire more funds for our adventure while remaining out of the ire of the law given the standing of these particular brigands. I spoke to the woman upstairs and she told me that while the guards maintain a watch, they are only just keeping these brigands at bay, he says.
And we're actively attempting to rob these people?
Yes, so that we might put them out of service and grant the town an easier night's rest.
This seems far and above our purview as random people who've just gotten here.
Oh, perhaps, but it will make for an excellent first impression with the Lord, who I no doubt would believe that these men are at least a moderate thorn in the side of, if not a nuisance.
Right, Atticus, I'm going to put this as succinctly as I possibly can. My unique talents would allow me to pinpoint nearly exactly where this key could open. It does not, however, unshellac guards. It does not unbury treasure, and most certainly does not unbullshit my way through guards.
And he gives a toothy smile and says, "Nah, that's why I'm here, pal."
You were saying, Brian?
Oh, absolutely nothing. This is great. Keep going. Sorry.
Look, I think it would be best if we spend some inordinate amount of time here preparing for the next leg of our journey, wherever the hells that may take us. We really don't need some criminal group trawling around attempting to kill us or mug us.
Well, if we take care of them, then they won't be around to do that.
No, but then we've upgraded our foe, as I am only certain that your method of taking care of things is shooting them, or stabbing them and then shooting them. Which simply upgrades our adversaries to the guards, who will be more than happy to have a long conversation with you about why you're killing, stabbing, and shooting people.
So I'm doing a dance.
As Randall kind of obsesses over the legalities and the absolute madness of your
proposal. Okay. Atticus holds his hand out for the key and says, "Okay, very well. I won't ask this of you, Randall. You're right. You're right. And he fucking continues on. We'll go prepare as you suggest.
You take the key back from Randall and slap it in one of your pouches. And as Randall continues to kind of attempt to reason with you, and although he succeeds, it still kind of rubs you the wrong way that he got to you. Maybe just a little bit. I mean, it was a good idea after all. you come upon the entry to the archives, which has no guard or anyone of the sort at the front. And more impressive yet is it's one of the few buildings on the street whose windows are unshuttered and whose windows are actually made of glass. And you can see inside. It's kind of a remarkable feeling. You don't really tend to see that too often. Glass is typically a sign of wealth.
New plan. Where's
the archive? Oh, go ahead.
Is there there's a smith, right?
Yep, but not in your general area. You do hear like the clanging of a hammer on iron or steel or some sort of metal further off in the distance, to the west of your current location, somewhere through the crowd. It's loud enough that you can hear even over the bustle of the village.
Fuck. Oh, never mind. I'll just go on with the fucking archive.
Okay.
I'll get back real quick though.
Sure. As you approach the archive, Spoon, and just kind of casually glancing in, you can see that it's not particularly populated. There's very few people in there, but like maybe 3 that you can see on opposite ends of the establishment. It's got a lot more of a regal look compared to the other buildings, with intricate carvings and unique designs on the sides that beckon to some sort of history or time long gone. A griffin sits prominently etched across the entirety of the front, even between the gaps of the stone, flowing in between the doorway almost perfectly and continuing on and striking a rather proud image. Looking within, you can see that there are just shelves upon shelves of literature, and there's even a section that you cannot see from this location. At the very front, there is a desk where kind of a older fellow kind of sits, musing over some scrolls and arranging some nearby books and parchment, and kind of muddling about with ink and quill. If you want a further description, just let me know. But yeah, you're at the archive, and it doesn't look very busy.
All right, I'll walk up to the main counter. Hello.
Sure. The librarian kind of looks up at you from his current reading. Can I help you?
I was hoping to peruse your selection of books.
Seems a bit surprised. Can you read?
My character looks left, looks right. Would they be here otherwise?
You'd be surprised the number of men that walk in here thinking it's some sort of brothel or tavern, imbibing spirits heavily as they do.
Ah, well, let me dissuade the notion. I can, in fact, read.
Very well. 2 silver, and you may read as long as you wish, in any section that you wish. And should you have any questions about any of the material, you are more than welcome to ask me or perhaps another scholar nearby, although there are very few of them.
Very well.
Yep.
There is but one simple rule. Do not take any of the materials from this place, and anything you damage, you will pay for. The archive is open by the good graces of the noble lord. We would request that you keep it that way, even if it is for a price.
Very well.
Are we clear?
We are clear. Would you do me a time-saving favor and point me in the direction of a likely obscure or smaller publisher in the library? Do you have anything on the how do I say this in a way that isn't ethicus? What is the word for
He sort of kind of the librarian kind of eyes you both a bit strangely.
Sorry. I was looking at my phone. What did he say?
Go ahead,
my character is basically going like into like a bilingual. Like, what is the word for that? It's like Like Kosbragia is like curse breaking.
Yes, curse breaking.
The librarian looks between you both, seeing as how you share fairly similar appearances, and he remarks before answering, "Imperial?
Aye.
It's rather unusual for Imperials to have such an interest, given your empire's disdain for such literature, but there," he points in that direction. Mysticism and other similar arts.
He nods. He'd also hand over 2 silver, obviously, because,
4 total, yeah, he takes your silver.
And he'd ask
and-
about if there's any books on ogres.
There, he points in the other direction. Monsters, beasts, and other assorted creatures.
Very good, thank you. And then he'd walk off and look.
All right. You guys basically have free reign to read as much shit as possible for as long as you wish until they close officially. Yeah.
Perfect.
Spoon.
Yeah.
You come to the section that the librarian had instructed you to visit. And you find, while this isn't a library, by the way, in my world, a library is a grand display of opulence. This place is large, but not so large that it has a library. It has an archive, which is significantly smaller.
Right.
And while it can still have some fairly niche or useful volumes, but this isn't like the Grand Imperial Library, where it's just like a fucking shitload of shit.
This is like a walk-in pay in school.
Yeah, this is definitely a bit more of a smaller scale operation. That being said, you move to the section on mysticism and the magic arts, and well, what you find surprises you to some degree. There's a lot of books, generally speaking, on theory, history, relating, of course, to mysticism, rituals, some on curses and their effects, some on objects of significance, some on the links between the world and magic and the theories therein. This is a fairly impressive collection, all things said. There's a lot of useful tools here that somebody could kind of take from this place. Not literally, unless they wish to rob it, but yeah, there's definitely some good reading here. What books do you wish? Give me a investigation check. I would call for you have all the time in the world, so I'll just call for a 10. What kind of a book are you looking for? Is it just specifically the one on curses? Is it on necromantic curses specifically?
Right now I'm looking for probably a book on curses. I got a 7, I think.
7? Okay, what's your total?
No, that is the total.
Okay, as you basically have as much time as you need within reason to search, I'm going to give you a +5. However, I'm also going to say that you have less time to read as you spend more time searching. A lot of books here, on a lot of different things.
I'm going to search for some shit, too.
Okay, Debo, what is the kind of book you are looking for primarily, or books, and regarding what exactly? The first one was ogres. Is that all you want to read about?
Ogres, any sort of...
Also, what's your academics?
My academics is 3, I think.
Okay, you may have to make academics checks to read some of these books. Typically, the people who write them have rather verbose and kind of formal educations, which you don't have. To give you an idea, an educated person in this setting is probably looking at anywhere from like 6 to 8 academics, which means they read and write at a very high level.
Sure. I'm just looking for books on ogres and anything like bestial, I guess, because we heard about a red wolf.
Sure. Give me a roll. Same check as Spoon. just hit like a 10, and you should find at least the first couple volumes you're looking for.
Yep, that's still 10. That's like 12.
Sure. Yeah, you do end up finding a book on ogres, specifically one entitled Deadly Maw, Encounter with an Ogre, and another one called How I Cut My Way Out of an Ogre's Belly.
What the fuck?
There's another one on other beasts called Xanthian Black Wolves, brief treatise on the mating behaviors and territorial patterns, and then another book titled Xanthian Wolves: Anomalies and Strange. Was it Anomalies, Unique Coat Patterns, and Strange Shifts in Mannerism?
Yeah, I guess he'll take the one, all of them. I guess. Okay.
All right, you basically load up on homework.
Yep.
You've got 3 fairly generous-sized books filled with some manner of information that you now have to sit and pour through.
Yeah, he'd be sifting through them for pretty specific information.
Give me an academics check for
oh shit.
The books on Xanthian wolves. Those are the most difficult to read. I will call for a 15. The books about the ogres are a bit simpler. You don't need to roll for those.
That's 11.
11? Okay, yeah. So you will have an easier time reading through the
He's mostly
book on
just
ogre.
looking through the Xanthian books for shit about like red coat patterns.
Yeah. So the book that you will struggle the least with is the book on ogres. You seem to be able to read that fairly reliably, especially since you're reading in a language that isn't really your own. So you're getting most of it. Occasionally, you have to kind of translate what the word could roughly mean in the Imperial language. But for the most part, you do well on those books. The books on the Xanthian Black Wolves and their habits, mannerisms, and essentially their unique or odd discoveries, that one is difficult. That was clearly written by somebody who has a very broad and varied understanding of literature and vocabulary. He uses a lot of lots of play on words, verbose descriptions for things. Sometimes you could argue unnecessary, and a lot of the words are unfamiliar to you, in spite of the fact that you can speak this language somewhat. Those are hard. You'll get bits and pieces of information, but not as much as you would from the other 2 books. The other 2 books you can absorb fairly well, especially if you continue to read them. I will give you additional information on the wolves later. Here's what I can summarize for you. Xanthian Black Wolves are, as per their namesake, as far as anybody is aware of, they are native to Xanthias, which is the mountain iron mining village close to Clanhold Dramek, which is a dwarven stronghold that, of the 2 of them nearby, trades fairly heavily with Krisha. The Black Wolves are a bit of a strange anomaly. They outcompeted a local group of Grey Wolves that used to be in the area and are no longer a presence there, really. They had moved north of Uldric into the Raban area, close to that trading post, after the Black Wolves moved in. And nobody's sure exactly where they come from. A lot of rumors and myths suggest that since the original war between Akrisha and the Empire, something likely drove them from their prior environs and pushed them further west. They are known for having unusually tough hides, and their distinctive feature outside of their black fur color, which is unusual among wolves, it tends to be that when angered or when in a fight or flight response, the hairs on their backs tend to stand up somewhat noticeably. They're also unusually cunning, even for wolves, which tend to be considered some of the smarter animals that people deal with. And they almost always defer to a unique alpha of sorts, or alphas rather, a male and a female of the pack typically. Usually the male, based on what the studies have shown, tend to be the primary kind of rulers of the pack. They tend to be the largest and most muscular, angry, and aggressive. That's what you get from that book. So not as much as you otherwise could. Ogres, on the other hand, have a long history of contentious behavior with pretty much any species that is unfortunate enough to live near them. They are very tall, strong, typically simple, with big appetites, and are known to generally be loners, except for when it comes time to congregate in long festivals just filled with other ogres that essentially amount to extended periods of grotesque, monstrous debauchery for which other ogres can potentially be born. There tends to be an absolute cornucopia of food, alcohol, and other such enticements to essentially get the ogres to do their thing. Legally acquired, of course, from pretty much anybody that has the misfortune of running into them the months prior to this celebration. Rumor has it that this is one of the very few times people can even see female ogres, which are incredibly rare. But apparently, according to this author, do exist, and as most people would suspect, by human standards, are utterly hideous to behold, but their proportions are ridiculous by our standards. By ogre standards, they're about similar. Unlike the males, which tend to be large, muscular, very strong, and temperamental, females, while similar and are also terrifyingly strong compared to any of the other races, particularly humans, they tend to be a bit more on the portly side. They tend to have larger bellies, incredibly large breasts. They are built to size, and their facial features are, for lack of a better term, utterly repugnant. Are the words the author used. But then he says, but make no mistake that all of their functions are intact. It is surmised that they tend to hibernate during the years when the mating rituals are not required, and they tend to raise the young ogrelings by themselves, while the male ogres just have their run of whatever area they're in. Male ogres are notorious loners, and rarely do they commit to a single female, although there are notes here that it has happened. Male ogres are also in charge of essentially keeping the territory as clear as possible. Anything they view as a threat they sort of encounter on the way, and they eat or violently extort or otherwise remove. There is a good wealth of information in this book. There's more than I could tell you, but I could be here all day. You get good info from that book, is what I'm saying.
All right, yeah, he fucking read the hell out of that book.
Brian in over description mode. Fuck. But you get it. If you're interested in learning more about ogres, some other day I'll sit down with you and put my wiener in your mouth. Ogres are cool.
Hella cool, bro. Alright.
Spoon a lot. You eventually find a book called Curses. Their function and the theorem behind them. And another book right next to it by the same author. My eye, is it? So hold on here. I have it actually written down. The Eyes That Peer Beyond. A treatise on divination. And the author's name is Zarlak Carr. These books
fucking familiar, and that fucking scares me.
These books are. They don't seem to ring any bells. The author's name is unusual. He's definitely not from Acretia, and he's like no imperial name that you have ever seen. However, he has written both of these books. Another book next to it is Pyromancy, and the title is With Great Power. That's it. There are more books, of course. there's there's one entitled Necromancy, the Misunderstood Form of Mysticism. There is another one next to it it's even more bizarre. The Unraveling of My Life, Chronomancer's Tale, by Ilian Tenebrae.
Oh, fuck.
Then there is
your name.
Yeah, there is one more book that tends to stand out, and it is called How I Molded the Perfect Servant by Menthius Raquel. Boone just jerking off like, oh my god, there are other wizards that survived, and they're all niggers.
They're all fucking
They're all dicks.
jabrones. All of them. Every single fucking one of them is a jabron. I love it.
Adolf Emperor was right all along. Poggies did
Yeah.
nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Fucking right
Yeah.
all along, all left, all right, all up and down. All right, give me that divination book and give me that necromancy book. Give me that curse
Sure.
book.
Yeah. Thankfully, the first two are the ones that you need. Spoon, I'm going to offer you a once-in-a-lifetime roll to find something special in this section.
Oh my god, why?
It's, do you have unusual knowledge, magic knowledge?
I do.
All right.
Wait, I think I
Yeah.
have that too, dude.
You're not in this section. Okay.
Fuck you, I can't go over see Spoon.
Spoon,
Yeah.
you find one more book. The Lord of Metal by Chrysos Aurelius.
Oh no.
That name is actually very familiar to you, and in fact, I'm gonna give this to you for free.
And I know why.
This book was written by a man that, among the educated circles of magicians, is known as a master transmuter. Which means that
he has
if the
the
rumors
biggest
are
of
true,
dickuses.
he has complete control over metals of all sorts, up to and including completely shifting their function, appearance, and makeup.
Wait, didn't I meet that guy?
No.
He is rumored to be sufficiently powerful enough that he could turn a mountain into gold should he so choose, although this is likely just a mythology of sorts perpetrated by the Imperium. He is the current, and has been for some time, several decades in fact, the one of the Imperial Council members and the current head of the Dark Quarter operations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did you want me to roll?
You don't have to. I gave it to you.
Oh,
You have magic knowledge, so you get it for free.
right.
He is the Warden of the Dark Quarter. Currently.
He is the guy who wants to strap my ass in chains. Got it.
Yeah, he is, if the rumors are true, a very, very uncommon and rare example of what happens when magicians survive and become very powerful and wealthy. And apparently he serves the Imperium. Whether or not it's by choice or not, nobody knows.
Neat.
But you don't have to take that book if you don't want to. You can just take the first two. You don't have you have a lot of time to read, but not all the time.
Right.
So, you pick up the first two books. And guess what? I got a shit beer back. See? He knows not to fuck with me on my dime. All right. Spoon.
Right.
Zarlek Carr's treatise on divination is truly remarkable. And funnily enough, it seems like both books, including that of Curse Breaking, center more on his specialty, which, as he confesses, and if he's to be taken to his word, was divination. it's a rather interesting tale. Carr essentially. Oh wait, what's your academics?
6.
Before we start getting into sexual harassment. Sex. Okay, yeah, you're starting to approach the precipice of some pretty impressive education. Give me a roll and just let's see. What's your total? Your intelligence and your academics and any bonuses. What are you looking at baseline?
My total is 10.
10? Okay. Give me a 15 for bonus information. Otherwise, I'll tell you everything that I have. That isn't this one little snippet.
17.
Cool. All right, you get everything. Carr goes into details describing his venture with this particular sort of magic. He says that there was a point in time where he had such a thirst for knowledge and the goings on and things that happen. However, he details that as he aged and he realized that his brand of power had robbed him of any sort of spontaneity in life, he could no longer find joy in the things that most men would find some sort of relief in. His own marriage he found no pride in. His own children that he had known he would have did nothing for him. His ascent to even greater power was an event that he could take no further excitement in, for he had seen it all. All opposition that had fallen upon him had essentially been washed away, and while he says there were moments where he had erred, misstepped, or otherwise chosen his corrective path incorrectly, he says that with enough practice, the unfortunate reality of this particular practice of sorcery wasn't a lack of power. It was a lack of. It was too much clarity for a man that had expected some level of spontaneity in life. Essentially, what he details is he couldn't take joy in life anymore because he found himself unable to turn off his visions. He says that at one point, approximately when he was in his 30th season, he suspects that he may have bungled a spell such that occasionally, in moments where perhaps he would kind of feel the familiar kind of excitement of the unknown, that sensation would be robbed from him by fairly clear visions that would spell out to him the next portion of his life. And should he deviate, it also showed him that. And another, until he essentially felt like he was a piece on a board that no matter what decision he made, it was always according to the plan of something that wasn't himself. He says that he writes this book, caution those who tread this path, as while he has seen much, and he owes a good deal of his success to the machinations and studies and adventures that this particular school brought him, he also regrets that he had delved too far, as now he sees far too much. Rather for good or ill, it doesn't matter. As you scroll into the book specifically on curses, Carr says that at one point in his life he had run afoul, unfortunately, of a vivomancer without knowing. And this particular caster and him had a bet of sorts. And Carr had used his abilities to essentially cheat the other magician, the Vivomancer, of his prizes. The Vivomancer, of course, not knowing that Carr was a master divinationist, ended up finding out, and in a rage had cursed him from afar with a horrible kind of skin rot that would slowly but surely wither him away until he was but dust and bones. Carr, operating on borrowed time, had inevitably found a way to not essentially break the curse conventionally, but to forestall it almost indefinitely for so long as the Vivomancer was unaware. Carr had discovered that by redirecting the Vivomancer's unnatural clairvoyance from himself to an alternate thread of fate that includes him, he could essentially have the Vivomancer's curse pour its progress into some other misbegotten thread of destiny and essentially throw its energy into the dark. However, he also said that, and this is never elaborated on, but he said that theoretically, this Vivomancer could notice over time, especially if they're particularly skilled, that some effects of their spell are misaligned with the guidelines they had set. He also said that the relief of this curse and its effects, for all effects and purposes, blinded him to his own destiny, and he theorized that any who also were under this form of relief, as he called it, would also suffer from something similar unless the ritual was prematurely ended or broken by the opposing caster. He writes at the end of his book that although he had not technically defeated the curse and still lives with some of its horrible effects, he had essentially managed to forestall it from progressing until he could either find a cure or unless he decided to live this way naturally for the rest of the years he had remaining. But he mentions very clearly that for so long as he had essentially manipulated his strand of destiny, he had clouded his own vision and could no longer see into the future, which, while it wasn't a complete success, actually brought back what he had lost all those years ago. You wish for details on this ritual spoon. What you're essentially doing is any spell or curse that has long-term effects that requires some sort of unnatural clairvoyance. Typically, the further away the caster is, they need to have some sort of way to maintain the contact of their magic with you, either through obscene levels of power or through a conduit object of sorts that they attach to you. They are essentially tricked and are shown a false vision. So for them, it's like holding up a mirror to yourself and projecting their curse onto the character in the mirror, and they see the effects of the curse play out right up until the final day, depending on what the curse is meant to do. However, eventually, there is a high chance that the caster, if they're particularly adept, can find out that the vision they're seeing is fake, because the curse, if it's time sensitive, should have certain effects at this time. And if they continue to see the vision of the curse affecting somebody and fail to continue progressing naturally, they'll come to that conclusion. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, essentially, like, hey, this is supposed to get shittier and shittier and shittier, and it's only just the first shittier.
Yep, Carr basically forestalled, at least based on this first book. Who knows if he's written more than two, the effects of the curse until the caster in question figured it out, or unless he decided to end the effects himself. Although it seems like he was more than happy to live with this terrible, debilitating condition, or at least the effects thereof, for so long as he didn't basically see every possible event in life. He also says that the most dangerous aspect that he had discovered, because he claims to have lived for at least 60 years, which is some time, not particularly like crazy impressive, but a lot for a magician. He says that the one of the worst things about delving too far into this sort of knowledge was essentially that he would never. He found it difficult to basically make decisions. Not necessarily whether or not the threat of fate was good or bad, but he also had to examine every possible alternative and then every other decision that leads from it, which can lead to decision paralysis. Like basically the idea that it doesn't matter how good, bad, or in between your fates are. If there's millions of them, you only have so much time to look around. And the thought that one of those could actually be better than the really good one you just picked can lead you to basically just, well, decision paralysis, right? Too many options.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the many problems that he had. But this is a way to forestall curses, and it's a ritual. He says that it took him not but a couple hours to do, but he said that for those that are unfamiliar with this ritual or who are merely apprentices, as it were, in divination, he said that it would take a full day of concentration, casting, and there were also some requirements. He states that without the raw power needed to without the raw power necessary to kind of anchor the ritual and all the effects therein, basically the caster becoming the conduit, he also recommends that several objects, as listed below, and he provides like a small list of things that could help with particular curses, without the amount of power required for the caster to use themselves as a conduit, he always recommends using things that can be used in their stead, which are typically expired as a result. They're essentially offered up as sacrifices to whatever. And those are for objects that are static. Do you want any more information on the curse, how it functions, the things you need?
Oh, sure, let's go into the things that my character might need.
Okay. So the first thing would be for each target or targets, an object of significant personal value. The second thing would be an anchoring object or being. Essentially, if this curse is attached to anything, any fragment or part of it will do as sort of a kind of a focal point. And he also states that this curse must be done under the full moon. Or sorry, this ritual must be done under the full moon, or at the very least in sight of the full moon. And it also provides a diagram of the symbol that needs to be kind of designed or sort of either etched into wood or stone or made with some sort of white chalk powder on grass or sand or anything else that would at the very least hold an image. Once these objects are in place, the magician must then, and he writes this for an apprentice, assuming you're using conduits, cast for 24 hours uninterrupted, and must not the actual circle itself must not be disturbed. The objects must not be moved, and the concentration of the caster, if broken, must be restored within seconds, lest they risk unintended interference.
Woo lad.
Yep. It's a lot. He also says that this ritual requires a rather generous amount of a caster's spiritual attunement, as it were, and it is unlikely they will be able to do much by the time it is finished. The TLDR of its boon is mechanically you will go down to 0 mana and exhaustion 10. So you will be fucked.
Wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, I will be casting this for 24 hours and essentially like fucking like in Path of Exile, I was like, yeah, I'm basically just like constantly using all my mana to maintain this buff or like this anti-curse.
That is just for the day.
Oh my god.
Once the ritual is completed, you can still rest and get all your mana back and shit is normal. But for that day, you are absolutely pooched. Carr also details that this time can be shortened if you have companions that also practice this particular art. It can actually be shortened by quite a bit. He surmises that 3 apprentices could likely finish the spell within 2 or 3 hours. And he also says that in place of many of the objects, with the exception of the anchor object in question, each of the casters could work as a conduit and essentially share the responsibility of harnessing that energy and keeping it stable. He also says that on the off chance somebody a bit more experienced is reading this, it shouldn't take them much longer than an hour by themselves. But he also states that he's never met anybody with that level of skill that wasn't himself, or so he claims. So
makes sense.
Yep. What do you think, Spoon? That's a rather unique way that divination can get around some curses, or at the very least, most of them. They basically kind of illusion a thread of destiny, forestall the curse, and hope the other guy doesn't figure it out. If they do, you're in fucking trouble. But the good news is you buy yourself a shitload of time, especially if they have no reason to believe that, you can do what you do, right?
Yeah.
Is that a curse breaking spell that you wish to use?
Potentially.
Okay.
Additionally, question.
Sure.
Are you offhandedly aware of how mana recovery works?
It should be after a rest.
Is it just all of it?
Yeah, you just get it all back. Pretty sure. We can look that up after the game. I'm pretty sure you just get it all back. Your rest. That's the advantage of being arcane caster.
Phenomenal cosmic power.
Basically. There's another book. Did you happen to grab the book called? Oh well, you're still on the curses book, right? Carr also says one last thing. He recommends that if you are a magician who is obsessing over a particular type of curse that is linked to a practice of magic that Carr is not familiar with, he says that a recommendation of his would be to just scour books on that particular type of magic, and if possible, find someone who specializes in it to assist you. That is also apparently like a privilege that he apparently must have had, given how far he transcended into divination. But you are not so lucky.
Not yet.
Yep. He also says that somebody who is attempting to deal with a curse that is initiated by their school of magic will likely have much better results at undoing it than somebody who comes from a different school. Curse breaking is very difficult, costly, and the best way to do it is always by playing by the rules of those who set them. But in situations where that is either impractical, impossible, or grievously harmful, he always recommends that alternatives be considered. Although he does often state that alternatives require not only power and specialization, but usually gold or something of value. In this particular book, which details general curses more than anything, Carr doesn't really list any other method of curse breaking. It seems like this was just an example he used for a theorem that he had detailed on one of the pages regarding curses, how they function, why they might be laid, why they're so popular in peasant myth, and so on and so on, right?
Okay.
This is just kind of a snippet of knowledge that he had given. So what do you think, Spoon? You actually, I will also say, Spoon, out of character as a GM, that rituals are something that any caster can do within their purview. Every single type of magic has a way to interact with curses from other types of magic. They typically have trouble breaking those curses, but they might have ways around them, if that makes sense. With the exception of schools like Abjuration, which excel at breaking curses from everyone. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about the curse? Should I be more clear? I kind of felt like I rambled a bit, but like I was basically trying to give you as much information as possible because you're trying to break a fucking curse, and I don't want to fuck you out of information. So, do you have any questions? Do you want to step by step kind of do this, do this, do this?
No, it seemed pretty succinct of how to commit to doing the ritual, but according to the ritual, doing it without fully knowing the purview of what rules I'm playing by, even if I know it's probably necromancy, that doesn't exactly help me because it's just like, okay, so it's necromancy. What the fuck?
Hmm. Well, there was a book that you didn't take that had details on necromancy.
There sure was.
If you want to read that, I will move on to Debo. Would you like to try and find the book on necromancy?
Sure.
All right. Debo, are there any other books that you would like to essentially pick up and give the old 1-2 readeroo? Anything?
Yeah, just to sate his curiosity, you know, he'll look around and he'll look for a book on that evil fucking Isle of Fog.
Caligula Insula. There is actually a book on that. Caligula Insula, known as the Island of Fog. Okay, sure. So Debo, here's what I can give you. The book is written. The book is written rather simply. It reads more like a story or an opinion piece than anything truly educational, but there are some snippets that you might find useful. The Isle of Fog, given its namesake, during the initial imperial kind of expansion / conquest that occurred roughly during Morathia's rampage, uniquely mentioned here, is a troubled place with a rather dark history. During this war, one of the nobles of a small independent island kingdom had essentially refused to pay the Imperium a rather heavy tax, and initially refused to not only be vassalized, but to submit troops to the cause to essentially drive back the witch. The ruler, which would be considered a duke or a baron under the Imperium's current system, Lucien Ionel, had refused not only to surrender but to cooperate with the Imperium, as he viewed this as just an irresponsible and brash grab for power, and had basically told the Imperium in no small terms to get stuffed. This did not end. This did not end well for Lucien, as while him and the rather small island population did put up a fairly impressive fight against the Imperium's forces, being on familiar ground and requiring a ship landing, they were vastly outnumbered, and the technology that they brought to warfare was lagged just slightly behind that of the Imperium, who had that advantage as well. The Imperium also valued this particular island for its rich deposits of silver and gold. Specifically, it was a very wealthy place. And more importantly, there were rumors of some other sort of metal there that was exceedingly valuable, although was never discovered. And whatever the specifics were on that were kept closely guarded. And this book merely speculates that perhaps it was some sort of elven, dwarvish confoundery. What had happened at some point during the shortly after the peace talks, since the island is only considered to be part of the Imperium in name and not necessarily by function, is the island was kind of enveloped by a mysterious and almost ominous fog during a negotiation of several top Imperial generals, of which Avidius Crucelio was one. He was one of the most heralded and respected generals of the Imperium during the war with Acretia, where the elves got involved. But this was nearly two centuries ago. What had happened was, and the Imperium had suspected some manner of sorcery, as a large portion of their armies were destroyed and utterly laid to waste by something or someone. While they had plenty of machinery and good men there stationed in a garrison, it wasn't the bulk of their forces. But more importantly, there didn't seem to be anything that they had encountered before that would lead them to believe that the standing forces of Ionel, what remained, would have been enough. The Imperium had always suspected sorcery, and as such had attempted to deal with the issue over the course of the last 200 years, but unsuccessfully, which is unusual for the Imperium. They tend to get results where they go. There has been nothing but silence from the island since, and the fog now has become kind of a warning almost to those that would encroach on the island. Rumors of curses and wizardry and all other sorts of dark, foul play are always at the lips of those who seek to kind of uncover the secrets of that place. And yet, as is tradition with these sorts of tales, none who venture there ever return. There has not been a single Imperial envoy, no matter how mystically gifted, divine, or skilled with the blade, that has managed to go there in any number and return. They have all perished.
Sounds sick. We should go there. That sounds awesome.
Yep. Nobody knows what happened, but what they do know is they lost a lot of their most important generals during a general peace meeting, and their entire army was pretty much scattered and wiped out. They suspect sorcery of some kind, but they're not entirely sure. And since then they have, since then they have failed to take back the island in any way. And for 200 years, this is the longest standing bounty in Imperial history. They have offered a substantial sum of anything that somebody wants to not only find out what is going on at that island, but also to kind of make way for colonization and to essentially make it safe so that they can start building something there. Outposts, fortresses, the things that they would need that far out in the sea.
So you're saying that it's free real estate?
I mean, technically, yeah.
Sick. We're going there, Spoon?
No.
I mean, it's all good. Atticus will read it and be thoroughly interested in it.
Oh boy, yeah, certain death? Let's go.
Most people are.
Yeah, and if there's any time left, he'll search for... Fuck, I don't even know how to word it, but like... Fuck, I don't even know what he'd search for, man. Literally anything to explain what the fuck he saw in that castle.
Bro, fucking Atticus is like, bro, my soldier's education barely lets me read these books. There's so much fucking cool shit in here. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I like how you guys have more fun just me lore dumping you than actually playing the game.
Right?
Yeah, man.
That's toxic, bro. Hold on. Give me a sec.
I need my lore dumps.
Okay. That's not bad. All right, Debo. There is okay. There is one book that catches your eye. The title is The Whimsical Nature of the Dark, the Demon Melinthus.
Huh. Okay, yeah. He'll pluck that shit up and we'll read that too.
All right. This is the last one, and then we're going back to Spoon.
Yep.
The demon, also called Melinthus, if this author is to be believed, is a strange creature of many forms, considered a vile trickster being. It inhabits many forms, particularly preferring those of animals, and it seeks to essentially lead particularly pure or good-hearted souls into temptation and essentially rob them of their happiness by forcing them to commit vile acts through deception and manipulation. The creature finds itself particularly attracted to those that are lost, confused, or otherwise unsure of their path in life, and it tends to slowly but surely reach its tendrils through the dark into the minds of those that are doubtful. Given enough time, the demon is sure to assume the form of those whose minds it has completely polluted, using their fragile mortal vessels as a temporary home before tearing itself free and inflicting horror upon the realm. Unfortunately, due to the demon's vast power, it requires particularly durable vessels to inhabit, as those that are weak spiritually or who are unattuned with the dark find their flesh rapidly disintegrated into the ether of nothingness. The demon itself has two, at the very least, two competing. There are quotations by this word, brother demons. One of the brother demons is Malchaeus, and the other, the name is illegible. This part of the book is damaged. The text is illegible, but there is a third. And it is said that these demons fight in a kind of a triumvirate of eternal conflict, each seeking to upend the influence of the other. One is sort of a trickster demon. One purely focuses on destruction, and the other, there doesn't seem to be much rhyme or reason to its actions. It is more an agent of chaos. It is said that all three of these creatures act as sort of a stopgap for the other. If one becomes too powerful, then the other's sort of sent to stop it, and vice versa. However, it is also said that if these particular creatures were to find their way into Karm, that the resulting devastation and ripple effect of their very presence could set in motion historical events that could change the very fabric of this world. The author also states that, thankfully, though, due to the demon's very nature, it is against their interests to let one of the other two succeed in this plan, and in order to do so would require a definite lapse in their foresight, which, while not impossible, is definitely improbable. The author also notes that he studied these creatures, demons, extensively, and notes that they are incredibly easy to contact for those that are mystically inclined. He states that whether intentional or not, they are always drawn to those that show ability far beyond their kin, with one notable exception. Those that are drawn to mystic sources do not seem to be drawn to those who draw their power directly from incredibly powerful entities. That almost seems to repulse them, regardless of the nature of said entity. He likens it to children walking around a dark alleyway without the guide of their parents, arcane casters, and he says that every moment that they are even tempted to harness their talents is the equivalent of a helpless child crying out in a pack of wolves. And the wolves slowly but surely work their way in on the caster until they slip up and are eventually devoured.
Good. Good to know what's going to happen, Randall. Okay.
Oh, well.
He also says that of the neither of these three demons are preferable to allow into the world, particularly Malchaeus, who is an entity of pure violence and destruction with no logic or reason. He is a force of unnatural power. It exists simply to destroy. While the others, although also destructive, seem to have some ability to rationalize, plan, bargain, or at the very least be reasoned with, even if temporarily. That being said, the third demon, whose name is oddly missing, is the one that seems to have the least information available on it in this particular tome. The author hints that while neither of them breaching the dark is a particularly favorable outcome for anyone, due to the nature of the third, even compared to Melinthus, it would be particularly devastating because at any moment its goals and ambitions could change. And while it maintains a strong presence here, the order of the world slowly begins to tip toward the dark, ever so slightly, as chaos, anarchy, and violence and death and misery seem to take hold over the inhabitants of the world's period.
It's already like that, so let's fucking go, brother.
That said, though, the author also states as a closing note that on the off chance that should such creatures be encountered, there are ways to banish, prison, or otherwise remove them from this place and send them back from whence they came. But he also states that in order to start and do any of this, you would not only need to find them, but you would need the right sort of practitioner to expunge them from this plane. And he also states that even if those moments should align, the odds that you succeed in banishing them permanently are low. And those that succeed would find themselves with an eternal enemy that they cannot see or hear, smell, taste, or even in any way suspect is still there, but they always watch, like a ravenous dog kept at bay by bars, and the shadow of their presence will hover over those that trump them forever. And he also says that this is still a working theory. He also says that he has put a lot of time and work into this research, but he still says that there is much to learn about the dark and its inhabitants. He also says one last thing. Those forces are actively opposed by others in the same place. He also theorizes that there are beings in that endless blackness that are not evil, but that are of goodness. However, he has yet to communicate with one of them. The author describes the sensation as almost reaching your goal, but always just shy. He says, it almost seems as though those spirits do not wish to be contacted. Or if they do, it is always on their own terms.
I will chew your meat. Are you crazy? Think I have to joke with you?
No! But literally, the last part is Spoon when he fucks around and finds out. No!
Bro, I can't wait to fuck around and then be completely and utterly found out.
Man, that's fucking toxic. But yeah, Debo, that's what you get from that particular
Spoon's
book.
angel fetish back at it again. Cool. Yeah, he remembers this. He makes notes.
Write it down. Anything that you do, you got to write it down so that you don't forget, because it's important.
I'll write that bitch down, boy.
Spoon, do you look for any other books? My face went, all right, Brian, let's RP, but this is the library session. We do shit next session.
Yeah.
Right? Where's that book on necromancy?
Well, you thankfully picked it up as well, because it seemed applicable.
Yep.
Necromancy, the misunderstood form of mysticism. The opening, 4 chapters can be summarized henceforth. We're not all bad guys. Fuck all of you. And then
I already like this book.
The subsequent chapters go into the horrible way this particular form of magic functions. Necromancy has many facets, and the author details that the most unfortunately, the most infamous function is to manipulate, create, or somehow mess with the dead. Stories of men being pulled from their graves, children being sacrificed for some sort of great evil, so and such and so forth, immortality, all the things associated with necromancy. He says that those are all true. There are spells that do this in function, but necromancy's primary and least known function is to shape and manipulate and essentially weaponize the soul. necromancy is a form of magic that is capable of changing physicalities without having to learn the processes of life. It essentially can damage, alter, and in some extreme cases completely extinguish one's very soul, leaving not but a functional husk or a husk, period. It is considered a wholly evil style of magic by all but the most gifted in the arcane arts. And typically, most who practice necromancy do so for the easy access to tireless minions, those they can use for labor and other such things that most humans, elves, or otherwise would eventually tire doing. Necromancy is also excellent for creating abominations, as they neither require food nor air, they feel no pain, and they are not all necessarily mindless, as some can even be directly controlled by the caster, who now has all the capabilities of their servant, but in a body that is removed from the consequences of failure. Necromancy, especially with regard to its curses, tends to have some fairly obvious hallmarks, as it manipulates the physical form in some ways, inverse of life. Whereas life tends to focus on pleasure as well as pain, necromancy can only deprive or enhance displeasure. Senses, youth, particularly, functionality of certain parts. It is inherently destructive by nature compared to vivimancy, which, while also holding the potential for great destruction, is geared more toward the elongation of life through natural means, or in harmony with the natural forces of the world, while necromancy seeks to do none of that. It is also listed in this book that while a vivimancer can also, in theory, save someone from death, a necromancer can, so long as there is an appropriate vessel, bring back the soul of the dead across an indeterminate length of their perishment,
I don't know what
which is
fuck
not
that is, but I want it.
which is not something that is available to a vivimancer who has a very small window of time to resuscitate any sort of dead being before their soul is lost into eternity. The necromancer, however, can pull that soul from eternity, no matter how far it gets, and can essentially restore it to any vessel it chooses. However,
Goddamn.
it also says that if done incorrectly, or if the soul is particularly old, there is a chance that the husk it is raised in now bears an angered, deranged, or mad spirit that has long since lost any sense of self. Particularly powerful souls are required to stave off the effects of time, which, so far as this author has theorized, still affects souls even if it cannot damage them. He also says that necromantic curses are slower than most others. They tend to be cruel, and they tend to focus more on suffering and less on death, although that can be a consequence. The author states that necromantic spells that focus on death are very quick and deliberate. They don't tend to take much time. Curses, however, are usually geared toward elongating the personal suffering of those afflicted with them, driving them to madness and suicide as two consequences that are fairly common.
As you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
Basically that. Do you wish to read more?
How late is it?
You and Atticus have been in the library for at least 4 hours, and it is effectively nighttime. A couple sconces have been lit, and a few candles on some of the more isolated tables have been kind of set down for you.
Wait. So we woke up, we spent 4 hours here,
Yeah.
and it's fucking nighttime.
Yes. And you are still reading. This is how engrossed you are in the content. You're basically reading entire fucking books, and at a pretty impressive pace.
Yeah.
Shit.
Some of you are skimming a bit more than others, but the TLDR is the curse you have on you, based on what this author has laid out, is likely not going to kill you. Or if it is, it will take some time. But you do know one thing he said, which has to be true, is that it seems to be depriving you of any sort of sensory pleasure. And it's happening at a fairly quick pace. However, Carr's book has detailed a way that perhaps you can forestall some of that, if not indefinitely, then at least temporarily. And Debo has learned some information on demons, a little bit on ogres, and a little bit on the wolves.
Yeah.
A lot of these authors, by the way, like a lot of the books, you can are not really, like, the authors don't take credit for them most of the time. If you see the name of the author on a book of magic and it's genuine, which you have no way of knowing, you're likely dealing with somebody obscenely powerful who's not scared of consequences.
And is likely not to be trifled with.
Yeah. Most people that write books on magic don't list their names, not their real names anyway. Usually they use kind of a cover name. All right. So that book on demons, Debo, that you read does not have an author listed. The book on ogres and the book on Xanthian wolves does. Spoon, your 2 books on curses and curse breaking and divination have Zarlak Carr as an author. The other books do not have authors.
Okay.
And last but certainly not least, the recommended method for dealing with necromancers, this author suggests vivomancers are quite good at combating them, as they can essentially shield you from the worst of their effects, but particularly effective, although this author states he has never met a single human with this talent, although he has met an elf. Necromancers are woefully ineffective against demonologists who focus on some strange, almost holy version of that magic, which this author says he cannot describe nor fathom. It's completely foreign to him. He doesn't even have an idea of how it works. He says that those 2 particular types of magic do tend to counteract a lot of necromancy fairly well. However, he also states that necromancy and life are opposed quite seriously. And the other type of magic is not... necromancy does not really do much against the one niche sort of magic that was mentioned, but it is also not very likely that you will encounter anybody who does it that would know or recognize or...
Makes sense.
Zarlak Carr, in his book on divination, also says that there are some casters and practitioners that he has encountered in his life that were very difficult to deal with. And he states that as a divinationist, while it is encouraged that you foster amicable friendships with any who practice the arts, as there are not many in the world that will treat you fairly, but those that have been through your struggle, he states that he had a particularly troublesome time with chronomancers, and thought himself very fortunate to walk away from his encounters with mentalists. He said that one of them is very effective in battle, and with minimal preparation can cause immense damage on anyone without a spoken word, sometimes, if necessary. And the other has likely already acted without your know-how.
Now that's spooky.
Yep. Carr basically states that of the 2 of them, chronomancy is the most concerning because a mentalist still needs to be near you, and it's easier to see them coming. However, a chronomancer dictates the threads that you look in on. should they so choose. There is that.
TLDR, Randall, you fat fuck, don't fuck with time people.
Pretty much. Carr states that during his discussions with a particular man who claimed he was a chronomancer, he said that when they were discussing kind of their theorems on other concepts of magic that weren't their own purview, he states that the chronomancer had a particular dislike for dimensionalists, which he defined as those who walk between worlds. He stated that even a chronomancer has a difficult time keeping track of them because they are not consistently here. More importantly, they tend to shift between the dark and our world, and the dark has no concept of time. Do you see how every kind of mage has some gay shit they don't like dealing with? It applies to everybody.
Yep.
Everybody's got something. So, yeah. Eventually, the librarian will visit both of your tables, and he'll be thoroughly impressed with the enthusiasm that you both show for the books, but he's saying that they're closing up fairly soon. He would like you to return your reading material to the shelf. He says that if there's anything important that you would like to write down, that he charges silver for some parchment, and will give you some ink so you can make notes, but otherwise, he needs you to start packing up.
Understood.
Yep.
Let's see, that section right over there, right? I got it. I'll start returning the books.
Sure. And I'm going to call that game. Fuck you. You guys made me work too hard. Did you guys get enough information, and did you learn why did you learn why academics is actually secretly MVP?
Right?
Because it is, if you can get to the right place. I'll give you guys it was a pretty easy game. I'll give you 2 XP each. Fuck you
Sweet.
guys.
Yeah, give me fucking more XP because I read so much.
Stupid bastard. Yeah, solid game. That was basically a kind of an info dump session. Hopefully you guys learned some stuff that you were interested in. If you guys want more dedicated lore dumps, that'll have to come with time. But most of the stuff that you guys got was based on your academic score. There's always more details and little things that you can discover in books that only increases. The better you can read and grasp concepts, and the higher your education is, the better the opportunity and the chances that you get the best information.
Stop me if you've heard this from divination list before, but I fucking love knowledge.
That's good. I think you guys are pretty well prepared, honestly. Now, here's the real thing, and we'll continue this the next time we game. Is Spoon gonna do the fucking ritual to break the curse? And more importantly, does Atticus have the testicular fortitude to do what is required of him?
What?
You'll see.
Huh?
Well, Debo, remember what the ritual requires.
I don't remember.
An object of considerable sentimental value.
Oh yeah, I don't have any one of those.
You don't, do you?
Nope.
Unlucky.
Not your gun?
Nope.
Not your medals?
Nope, just you.
Not your masterwork, super
most
expensive and cool katana?
You're the most sentimental thing that I have, Spoon. I will sacrifice you to get this ritual done.
I will sacrifice Spoon so that the instant that his ritual goes off, it will end.
I'm sure Debo will. I'm sure Atticus would make the right decision to save his own life if he had to. He seems smart, even if his player is brain dead.
Well, no, I'm good.
You know what? The chalky taste, you can get used to it. Fucking.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good, bro. We're good. We're good here. We're all good.
Oh, we've been good?
Oh, it doesn't kill me instantly. We're good.
Okay.
Man, this kind of sounds like a 180 from last session.
No. If it doesn't kill me instantly, then we're good.
What the fuck, Brian? All this fucking curse bullshit, it's instantly killing Spoon in the course of like a fucking afternoon. Also, Debo, it's not killing us instantly. We can wait.
Debo's a role player. I know he's not that fucking... I know he's not that fucking callous toward his fucking character.
What could
Yeah, fuck you. I don't have anything of sentimental value. The only thing I had of sentimental value was my dog, and Brian killed him.
Well, we could go back and find your slave, and she could find your dog.
Oh, you know what? The most sentimental thing that I have is the fucking book that my good friend Franco died for.
Yes, the book that is currently sealing the incredible magical object, which could also be a focus if we could survive that long.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna use the book. I'm gonna use the book and the thing inside the book.
As a reminder, the object in question destroys itself.
Yeah, I know. That's how we're gonna get rid of the evil shard, Spoon.
That's not how that works.
Spoon's like, please.
Don't tell me shit. I'm the wizard here, motherfucker.
Debo, it is a fucking necromantic shard that we are trying to dissuade from necromancy.
Yeah.
It's like
that
trying
means
to
it's
fucking...
a perfect focus, right? Like, it's necromancy, so that means, you know, type effectiveness.
It's like trying to dissuade a pitbull from killing children.
I mean,
Pitbull the rapper isn't that bad, Spoon. He's only killed like 3 children. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, only 3. Fuck off.